Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon from everywhere you are. I'm Mohsen from Microsoft Zero to Hero. I'm so happy to be here with another session, Microsoft Zero to Hero session. And I think today we have a great session. Before to jump and kick off the main session, let me share some slide about the community and Microsoft Zero to Hero. Today we have a Casper here and he wants to talk about the zero trust, remote access to modern workspace. Before in the backstage, I talked with Kasper. He's expert. He's an expert in the modern workspace and Microsoft technology, and I think it's a great session today. As you know, we are part of Microsoft Learn. Microsoft Learn is a hub center from a lot of technology, learning content technology based on the text, video, and you can ask your question from Learn Expert. Don't shy about the question. You need to involve the Microsoft Learn, growing your career path, and a lot of things you need to learn in the Microsoft. This is the Microsoft Zero to Hero October calendar. This is the first session. All previous session hosted on our YouTube channel. You can back to Microsoft Zero to Hero YouTube channel and watch more. And the last slide is our code of conduct in the chat, in the question. I think we are tuned and on the same page. Now is the time to add the Casper on the stage. Hello, Casper, again. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm fine, thank you, thank you. The title is very great, you know. I think the Microsoft technology, zero trust, the security is very important in the all of the company to have a safe access, remote access to technology services, all platform like that. What do you think about that?
Well, I totally agree. And as you might have noticed, I'm currently I'm living in Denmark. I'm a Danish citizen, so I work mainly with Danish customers. And what I've seen sometimes are that security is a way of working. So it's basically embedded in everything we do. So it should be we are not necessarily experts, all of us, but we have to have the security focus. So if I'm doing something, I have to consider the security implications or improvements.
Yeah, right. Let me add your presentation. Just for participant notice, if you have any question, you can ask your question in the comments. End of the session, me and Casper answer your question. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Nice of you to show up on this Saturday morning, afternoon, or late afternoon, as in my case, or evening, wherever you are. I'm going to share some information and some hands-on experience with Microsoft Zero Trust solution, their global secure access, private access primarily. That's one of the parts of the technology I've worked with, mainly because I wanted to have something that could replace a traditional, not so modern VPN solution. However, I'm going to show a bit about what we can also do with global secure access in terms of internet access. Today, I'm working as an independent freelance consultant. I'm working as a cloud architect with a company called Apento. I'm primarily working with Intune Windows Device Management. I'm an MVP on Windows 365. I'm working with Conditional Access and Global Secure Access as well. Been a consultant for more than 15 years. I actually started out as a Citrix consultant back in the day, and 5-6 years ago I changed tracks, so I'm primarily working with Microsoft solutions today. And then I'm also a co-founder and co-leader of a Danish end-user computing user group called EUC-Tech. And as you can see on the slide, I'm on X, LinkedIn, Blue Sky. I'm blogging on kasperjohansen.net, where you will find I think 3, 4, 5 articles primarily about global secure access, private access, and how we can use that, how we're going to manage the client, and how we're going to set stuff up. And then the homepage for the EU CTEC Denmark user group community. So what is Global Secure Access? It's a part of Microsoft Secure Access Secure Edge Solution, SASE. Microsoft and all the other vendors are very happy about these acronyms. So basically, Global Secure Access or Secure Access Secure Edge Solution is an internet access client where you will tunnel all your traffic coming in and out of the client through Global Secure Access. That provides you with a way of controlling which traffic is going out of the machine. You can put filters in, you can put specific hard blocks of URLs or IP addresses in, so that every time, or if someone accesses something you don't want them to have access to, it's blocked. You can protect users and devices with the built-in security features some of you might already know with conditional access. So if they are accessing, I don't know, sensitive or any other kind of secure material or secure websites, you can actually have them provide an MFA or any other security authentication for them to be able to access this. We have internet access for Microsoft services, which is basically tunneling everything you're doing towards Microsoft services, that being SharePoint Online, OneDrive, Teams, Office Online, and Exchange Online. So basically everything you're working with today in Microsoft products, they're being tunneled through this internet access for Microsoft services. That provides you with insights in what kind of documents or anything like that the users are working with, wherever they are in the world. So that's a good way of keeping track of what your users are doing. And then there is the private access part. And I have a typo, I see. I have to fix that. The private access is basically a classic VPN solution in ways of how Microsoft is approaching this. So this will be able to replace any, at least, I don't know any, but many classic VPN solutions out there today. That being, I don't know, Palo Alto, Global Protect, Cisco, whatever they are delivering in terms of classic VPN solutions, this will be able to replace that. And as mentioned before, we can also attach or combine private access resources with the additional security and conditional access, and we can combine it with the contextual stuff as well, where we can have a look at the machine state, whether it's compliant or not compliant. And then we will be able to either accept or block access to an on-prem resource. What I've usually worked with the customers I've set this up at is mainly network file access, printers. And then they are also, some are using it for RDP access to on-prem servers as a kind of an additional security solution where we can use conditional access to prompt the admin for additional layer of security. As mentioned, we will be focusing mainly on private access. And as mentioned, the use cases are internal on-prem resources. We can apply the strict security measures with conditional access when we are accessing all or some on-prem resources. Again, if you are accessing confidential or sensitive material on premises on your local file servers in your own data center, we can actually enforce that you will have to go through conditional access and provide some kind of additional layer of security. And then there's the principle of least access privilege, where we can provide the user with access to only the needed on-prem resource. So if they need access to one particular file server or one particular IP address on one particular port or port range, this will be the only thing that they will be able to access. They will not be able to roam around and poke in your VPN solution to see what other stuff they might be able to access. We can lock it down totally to make this the only thing they are actually able to access. As with anything else in the Microsoft world, you will obviously need a certain level of license. So the Entra P1 and P2 are, one of them is required. And then you will be able to license either the Entra Private Access as a standalone product, the Internet Access as a standalone product, or you can license both with each individual license, or you can acquire the Entra Suite, which have both private access, Internet access, and it also has some identity governance as well as a part of the suite. For this to work, you will have to have at least one on-prem server, which will be the private network connector. The private network connector is almost equivalent as what we know as the Azure App Proxy back in the day. So this is basically an Azure App Proxy, which has a bit more functionality in terms of what we can do with this. We will be needing at least a Windows Server 2012. I highly recommend something later than this, but it will work on a 2012. I've tested it. Again, I recommend something later than this. Some .NET Framework. If you're going to leverage or use the Internet access, you will have to disable the HTTP2 part. Otherwise, the Internet access will have some funny experiences with it. And if you would want to have a single sign-on to domain resources from let's say a cloud-only machine, like an intradomain machine, you will have to domain join this Windows Server, this private network connector Windows Server. Otherwise, single sign-on will not work. Global Secure Access Client is working today in Android, Windows, and is preview in Windows on ARM. It is working very good. I have a customer currently testing it, and the feedback from there is it's actually working better on Windows on ARM compared to Windows itself. It seems like it's more, it's better coded, it's faster. It is also in preview on iOS, and it's also working very good in macOS. I've tested that myself, and obviously also tested it in Windows and Android. Unfortunately, I don't have an ARM machine and I don't have an iOS device to test. We will need the Cloud Kerberos Trust feature enabled in Active Directory combined with the Entra ID for us to be able to have single sign-on. If we are going to publish distributed file system DFS shares, you will have to modify, if you don't already have this, you will have to modify the DFS namespace, the metadata on all your DFS shares to have fully qualified names in their referrals. Otherwise, you will not be able to access these namespace targets. Back in the day, DFS was relying solely on NetBIOS. It will not work with NetBIOS. It has to be fully qualified domain names today. We can have source IP anchoring, where we are forcing a specific URL or fully qualified domain name or even an IP address to be tunneled through our own network. I will show you how that works in a moment. But if we have an IP address where it might be a service provider that has configured an IP hard lock on your public IP, then it will not work if your clients is working on through Global Secure Access, because their breakout point might have another public IP. Then we'll be able, using source IP anchoring, we'll be able to force the tunnel through our own network, so that the accessing this particular service will have your on-prem public IP instead. The Global Secure Access agent, you have to modify that currently. If you have IPv6 enabled in Windows, and I think not all, but pretty much all Windows devices today have IPv6 enabled, you have to disable it because it's currently not supported. So it's IPv4 only. And then there is a bit of a missing feature. The Global Secure Access agent does not yet detect whether the endpoint is connected to the corporate network or not. Obviously, if the endpoint is connected to the corporate network, you would probably want to disable or not do a forced tunneling of your on-prem resources through Global Secure Access. If it is possible for the endpoint to access the on-prem resources directly on the corporate network, then you will probably want to do this. On my blog, I have a script and a solution that will mitigate this based on your on-prem domain network name or IP address. So this is a small script that basically runs in the background and detects whenever there is a network change. The script will kick in and it will have a look whether it can contact a specific domain or domain controller or IP address on the corporate network. We have a few ways of locking down the Global Secure Access agent. Right now, it's only registry based, which is to me a bit funny, but it works. So, and it is possible to create an installation package or provide some kind of guidance on how to implement these. Obviously, you will have to be a local administrator. So I would recommend some kind of deployment system like Intune, for instance, to push this packet to the devices. We can restrict non-privileged users from disabling the agent itself, and we can hide and unhide specific tray agent or tray agent buttons. I will show you in a moment what it looks like. So this is my very high-tech drawing on what's going on here. So we have a laptop which is connected through private access. It goes to quick access apps and or enterprise apps. I'll show you in a moment what's going on there. And it will be validated in Entra also, of course, which is illustrated with this little pyramid in the corner. And once it gets what it's able to access on our on-prem, it will go to the on-prem data center where we can have file, print, domain controller, whatever kind of server or endpoint that's needed. So let's see if I'm able to share my screen here. Let's see, entire screen and share. So hopefully you can see what I have on my screen currently. So Entra Global Secure Access is only available through the Entra Admin Center. If you're still accessing the Entra ID or Entra through the portal.azure.com, you will not be able to access Global Secure Access through that admin center or that portal. Microsoft has specifically made it so this is the single point of contact with Global Secure Access. So if you haven't already made the switch, going forward with Global Secure Access will be a good way of making this switch. I'm just going to collapse all of this, and we are going to the Global Secure Access node. So the first time you go in here, you will have an activate button where you will have to activate Global Secure Access. Obviously, I've done that. It's a very seamless process, and it's basically like everything else in the Entra portal. If you haven't activated it before, you will have to do that. And you will obviously also need a specific set of permissions to do this. To work with Global Secure Access, there is a specific role called Global Secure Access Administrator, which will allow you to access basically everything in the admin center. If you want to publish on-prem resources, you will have to have the application administrator role. And as mentioned earlier, if you want to work with conditional access as well, you will have to have that role, conditional access administrator role. So working with Global Secure Access currently is a 3-role venture. And basically there is a 4th role if you want to enable some extended log features. You will actually have to be a global administrator to enable that. And you will also have to have access to a log analytics workspace. But today I'm going to show you just how you can get up and running very, very quickly, or at least in a reasonable time manner. If you're just kicking the tires on this, I will recommend using the quick access approach. It's basically a one-off collection of all of your applications. You want to publish a file server, you can go and put it in here. If you're going to down the path of doing it one-to-one, so to say, where you publish a file server in its own capacity in here, and you're going to publish a domain controller, and doing that, you'll be able to granularly access or provide access to these specific services. However, one particular thing is the private DNS is for some reason still only available through quick access. The private access feature enables you to do DNS resolution against your on-prem resources. So if you're going to access a particular file server or any other server on its fully qualified domain name, this will have to be enabled. So you'll enable it, and then you'll put in a DNS suffix, which would be the same as the DNS suffix of your domain or the internal DNS suffix you're using currently in your Windows network. And then you'll have to grant access to either users or groups for this. We can do application discovery. I know a few of my customers have gone down the path of enabling quick access, and they basically, in a small test or proof of concept scenario, then they have basically granted an almost any rule. So they, through Global Secure Access, published everything on a particular network, and then they are using application discovery to see what kind of on-prem resources their users are actually trying to reach. And through this, they are able to do a more granular mapping of the resources on the on-prem network that is being accessed. This is a good way of mapping your on-prem resources. What I'm going to show you today is my approach on this in a way of providing granular access to this. So I've published a resource here, or an object, which is basically an enterprise app. If we worked with Azure AD when it's called, when that was the name, but also Entra, you might have come across the enterprise app feature. This is basically the same thing. This is only separated with this network access property. So we have a name, we can grant some permissions. Right now I have 2 users, the only users in my tenant, which actually have license for Global Secure Access. If a user does not have a license for Global Secure Access, they will not be able to log on. So it's fairly simple like that. Let's see, there should be some domain controllers in here. Yes. So what I've basically done in here, I've added a fully qualified domain name of a domain controller. This is not in my domain, but this will be the way to basically add it. We can add the ports that's used, or we expect to be used on our domain controllers. And if we need any other ports than this, we can put it in here separated by a comma. And as you might have noticed, we can put in an IP address as well. We can put in a range of IP address in the setter format, or we can put in and start and end range of an IP address. And once this is done, I can click OK and save, and I end up with an object like this, where I've published this particular server with this particular name and these particular ports using these protocols. So this is something you need to be aware of. If you have ports using either TCP or UDP or both, you will have to select this here. Currently, you are not able to select on a per port basis, whether it's going to use TCP or UDP or both. So currently, all these ports will be answering both TCP and UDP requests. This is not something you can configure currently. So right now, I have access to a domain controller. And before moving on, actually, where we can see what's going on in the user end, I'll just show you my DFS namespace. And this is a deliberate thing in my demo because all of my customers at some point had some kind of issue with DFS. And all of them started out saying this does not work with DFS and this is wrong and so on. So basically I dived in and came to the conclusion many other VPN solutions has the same issues as I came across here. I published my DFS namespace, the ports and the UDP and protocols as well, as you saw before. So fully qualified domain name, and this is my DFS namespace, which is my internal AD domain. And this domain does not contain anything other than 2 users and 4 domain joined servers. So this is for demo purposes only. And then I have the target server, which is here. No, not that one. This one. Again, fully qualified domain name of the server and the ports that is being used. And the 445 is the SMB port, which is the only port needed, at least in this setup, to access file shares, either directly on this file server or through DFS. So let's see how this actually looks. So being in Windows 365 MVP, I'm obviously going to show this off in a Windows 365 machine. This is running in Sweden, I believe. Let's see if I can get a browser up and running. So I have a checkip.me. So as you can see, this is my public IP, probably shared with, I don't know, hundreds or thousands of other machines in this particular Microsoft data center in Sweden. That's okay. I can live with that. That's the name of the game when I'm working on this. So this is what it would look like from a client point of view, whether it's a physical machine or not. They will have their global secure access running in the corner here. And in the later releases, they actually put in some useful information in here where you will be able to ask the endpoint user to see what kind of channels we are actually connected through. So this is using internet access, private access, the intra connection, which is my user authorization, and then Microsoft 365, which is going to tunnel all my Microsoft 365 traffic. I can do some troubleshooting. I can open a logs folder if I want to. I can collect advanced logs. That requires local administrator privileges. This I have on this machine. Obviously, I will not recommend a standard user to be working on a day-to-day basis as a local administrator. It just helps out a bit when I'm doing these demos. I can get some version information. Pretty basic stuff in here. Where it gets interesting is the advanced stuff. this will provide a bit more information. It has a health check. So if you have forgotten or haven't disabled the IPv6, we should be able to see an alert in here if we don't have this disabled. So this will show an error in the IPv4 preferred, meaning we don't have IPv6 disabled yet. And as you can see, I have a false on the quick protocol on Firefox. That's because I have Firefox installed. If I didn't have Firefox installed, it wouldn't report an error here. And it is here. And this is the feature you have to disable in Firefox to remove this warning. Quick is disabled in Edge. Quick is only needed if you're going to use the internet access feature. It doesn't have anything related to private access. We have a rule set. If we go and look at private access rules, we can see here's my file server. Here's my domain controller. These are the ports I have configured. So these are the ports we will be able to use to our on-prem resources. We can do some hostname acquisitions, which would be a part of the analysis of the traffic originating and going out of this machine. We can do some analyzing and collection of traffic, where we will be able to create a collection package of what's going on. If funny stuff is going on in the machine, we can't really locate what's happening. We can create a diagnostic package where we can see what's going on here. And you can see it's starting the moment I hit play. It will start putting in information. So if I'm accessing my on-prem DFS namespace, we will actually see it in here. So there's my domain controller, which will handle my authorization requests. There is my request to my DFS namespace. And somewhere down here, my file server should also, let's see if we can put in a filter, where we could say where is it? Destination fully qualified domain name contains this. Wow, my file server is not there yet. Why is that? Oh, I only accessed the DFS. So once I click an actual share in here, this will still not light up. Okay, so if I go in here and I actually click on a file which is on this particular file server, we should be able to see that name in here. And there it is. So this is a pretty powerful tool for us to do some analysis from the endpoint. And this also revealed that I am indeed capable of accessing DFS namespaces in here. I can actually see my netlog on as well. That's probably something to address. And I can see other DFS shared folders in here as well. Let's just have a quick look at this, the IP stuff again. As you can see, this is currently my public IP. But if I am going to use this Danish website, this will show another IP, which is my public IP. And no, I'm not afraid of you guys going to see what's in the other end of this IP address. But these IP addresses are different. And that's because I've created a rule tunneling everything going to my IP.dk through my own internal network where I'm now. And this will look like this. It's a very, very simple rule. And once Microsoft actually put this feature in here, I know a lot of my customers were very happy because we have a lot of services with these IP enforcements. So a lot of my customers will not be able to access particular services if their traffic is not originating from a specific IP address. So this is basically telling private access to whenever an endpoint is requesting access to this fully qualified domain name on these ports, you have to tunnel it through private access and on-prem. and this is what's happening here. So depending on what kind of URL or endpoint I'm accessing, I can actually have two different public IP addresses. I can also do a hard block in internet access. So here I've actually blocked YouTube. I can also do, Carlsberg is a Danish brewery. I can also block particular websites based on categories. So right now I'm not able to go to carlsberg.com to look at some very good Danish beer because it's being blocked by the category alcohol and tobacco. And I can do that with, I know some of you might be US based. I can do that with Marlboro as well, or Heineken. So this is basically the same category, blocking all of these URLs here. Pretty powerful stuff and pretty useful stuff if you actually want to see what your users are doing whenever they are using Global Secure Access. What if I want to access an on-prem server using RDP? I can do that. This is my domain controller. I don't want my users accessing my domain controller using Global Secure Access unless they are able to provide a MFA using the Microsoft Authenticator. So let's see if I am able to put in my password here. Considering that this is a the remote desktop connection software here is nearly 30 years old, so it doesn't have any clue about what's going on with conditional access. So for demo purposes, it's not very good, but for showing what we can do with conditional access, it is good. So what will happen now is that the connection will time out. However, I now have my my multi-factor authentication in my access token, and I will now be able to access my domain controller through Global Secure Access using whatever username I need to use to access this domain controller. And obviously, when we're using conditional access, we can enforce certain degrees or levels of security. Where we are either enforcing an MFA prompt every time going to this resource, we can enforce that we can only access this resource from a compliant device. And if we're going back to the intra console here, we can actually have rules, multiple rules to the same server here. As you saw before, I had my file server access where the SMB port was configured. If I wanted to go to the same server on another port, I can do that as well. And on that, I can enforce Global Secure Access, conditional access. Right now to this particular server, it is here, require RDP to file servers. It's in report only. Again, this is a conditional access rule like everything else, as you might have seen. This is just tied to a specific resource, which is my object, RDP to file server. Let's just have a quick view on the traffic logs. So we can go and have a look at what I've been doing from my target device here. I have a lot of allows down here, but I should have some blocks. Let's see, I'm going to search for action and block because I did actually try to access some stuff which is blocked in internet access using both an IP block or URL block or the categories. So this is nearly real time. And I say nearly, it's a couple of seconds, at least in my setup here, from when I access something that is being blocked to I can see it in here. It's a matter of seconds. And obviously you will be able to save these logs to a log analytics workspace as mentioned earlier. So you will have to have, you can have a as much retention on this as you want, or at least based on the amount of storage you're using. There will be a cost, obviously. We have audit logs as well, so we can see what's going on in here in terms of filtering or policies which are being applied. So these were applied yesterday when I was doing some final tests on this demo. So if you want to have the client download, this is here, the client download, click download, and then you have the client, and then again, the connectors and sensors is where you have the private network connector download. And you will also be able to do some grouping. And grouping is particularly important. These connector servers should be as close as possible to the resources they are publishing. So this is obviously in my local demo network here, right beside, so to say, the virtual file server. And I have a demo group here as well. I've been testing out another connector server, so you can do some grouping based on geography. Right now, the only countries or regions available are not particularly granular, so that will be Europe and North America, and I believe Asia, Australia, and India. So you can, right now, you can drill down and say, I want my particular connector server to connect to this particular Azure data center in this particular country. Hopefully this will be in the future where I'm able to actually connect through the Swedish data center or the Danish data center once this is up and running. So every VPN connection I have is out of a Danish or Swedish data center. So I'm not currently I'm being routed through a German data center. So let's go back to my PowerPoint. Let's see if I'm able to do that. Oh, I'm just going to finish up here. So takeaways on this. We can provide access to the needed resources only, as mentioned, down to the port of the particular service. We can get started fairly fast or easy with the quick access and the application discovery feature, where we're able to see what our users are actually trying to access. We can integrate it with conditional access. Conditional access as shown with the prompt. When I'm trying to access my domain controller, I'm prompted with an authenticator request that will obviously be any kind of additional multi-factor. If you have FIDO2 keys, that will work as well. And being this integration, the integration with conditional access and Entra, and in general in Windows, as you saw, this agent is basically invisible. Once it's up and running, the user will not notice it's there. The only times I have actually received feedback is whenever the user had a disconnect or something, an error was made. Someone removed the license from a user in Entra, then it will disconnect almost instantaneously. So this is the only thing I've actually encountered. So this will be an excellent VPN replacement for any traditional VPN solutions out there, because it's fairly easy to get up and running. It's fairly easy to secure your on-prem resources in a timely manner. So let's see if I can access. So I've just provided, you can have this PowerPoint slide deck after this presentation. I've just provided links to some of the articles on my blog if you want to have a read. And that's basically how to get started with Global Secure Access. It's a brush of what I presented here, and then how to deploy the Global Secure Access client with Microsoft Intune and something called PowerShell App Deploy Toolkit. And then my network detection script, where we can do this detection based on our network connectivity, if we are on a corporate network or not. And this script will actually turn off or turn on global secure access based on this. So I'm just going to see questions. I have one question from Pablo C in the chat. I don't know if you addressed that person.
Yeah, one question. Right now we have one question I share on the screen also. You can see the question.
A short answer is yes. As mentioned, there is a license cost. So I would expect that if you are under 5 employees, this would probably be, you would have to have these intra P1 or P2 licenses, and you will also have to have the particular licenses for global secure access. But other than that, yes, it will be usable, at least for 5 employees. There wouldn't be anything in the way for you to enable this.
Yeah, great. It seems there is no more question in the chat. Guys, if you have any question in the future, you can connect to Kasper in the LinkedIn, other social media to, oh, we have another question. Let me share with you again.
Do you know if Global Secure Access have any integrations to other security vendors? To my knowledge, they do not. The only thing I know of is you can attach or you can connect Global Secure Access to on-prem network equipment. If you have VPN network on premises, you will be able to access that or connect Global Secure Access to that. This is not something I've tried. I'm not a network guy, and I'm not basically a VPN guy, so to say. So this is something I've not done. To my knowledge, no, you will not be able to connect it to other security vendors. But if your let's say if your IDP, your identity provider is, I don't know, Okta, I cannot see why this will not work.
Yeah, thank you. Is there other question or not? You can ask in the chat.
Yeah, otherwise find me on LinkedIn if you have anything.
Yeah, for sure. For future, if you have any question, or other guys can watch this video on the YouTube, you can connect to Kasper on the LinkedIn, ask your question. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Kasper, again.
Thank you,
for
Walter.
great presentation. Have a great day. How are you?
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.